Good morning. Thank you, Father John, for your kind introduction and welcome to St. Thomas Aquinas Parish. My name is Sister Dolores Mitch. I come from Missoula, Montana. I entered Maryknoll in 1958. I was missioned in the Philippines for 32 years. Now, Sister Arlene and I are in active retirement in the Maryknoll Sisters community in Monrovia, California. I wish to thank Archbishop Jose Gomez and Lydia Gamboa, the director of the mission office, for their kind permission to speak in the Archdiocese of Los Angeles. The Gospel on this Feast of Corpus Christi tells of Jesus' miraculous feeding of the 5,000 from a few fish and loaves of bread. We can see this miracle as preparation for Jesus' Last Supper with his apostles and disciples, where he tells them to do this in memory of me. That is, repeat the miracle of his sacrifice as spiritual nourishment for their lives. Food as a symbol can stand for many things humans need to live. Today in our world, there are many needs affecting human communities. The Holy Father, Pope Francis, in 2015, wrote an encyclical letter on care for our common home. In it, he has many references to the bishops' conferences from around the world. One of these is the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines. The bishops of the Philippines recognize that some of the needs people have involve serious environmental crises. In 1988, they wrote the pastoral letter that Pope Francis quotes from. The letter is entitled, "What is Happening to Our Beautiful Land?" In it, they say this, quote, "To put it simply, our country is in peril. All the living systems on land and in the seas around us are being ruthlessly exploited. The damage to date is extensive and, sad to say, is often irreversible," unquote. This morning, I want to tell you a story about the Maryknoll Sisters' work in the mission I was in for 10 years in Baguio City, in northern Luzon. It illustrates the concerns the bishops have for their beautiful land, the Philippines. It begins with an earthquake. You are all familiar with earthquakes in California. In July 1990, a terrible earthquake hit northern Luzon. It killed hundreds of people, as well as destroying many buildings and damaging the infrastructure in Baguio City. The Maryknoll Sisters Convent and elementary school were also badly damaged. Because of that earthquake, the Maryknoll Sisters in the Philippines began to look more closely at the environmental destruction which was occurring at a rapid pace in the Philippines. While the Philippines suffers from natural disasters like hurricanes, volcanic eruptions, and earthquakes, it is the man-made disasters that are causing more devastating and long-term damage to the environment in the Philippines. I will give you 3 examples of the violence that we humans are doing to nature and the environment that threaten the human communities there. Each of these is mentioned in the bishop's pastoral letter. First, there is the large-scale cutting of the forests due to illegal logging and overlogging. This has caused flooding in many areas of the Philippines, leading to massive mudslides on eroded hillsides and the loss of thousands of lives. A second example is overfishing. Large commercial fishing boats from Japan and Taiwan fish in the Philippine waters using a method called muro ami in the shallow waters where there are coral reefs. In this method, large rocks are used by young boys hired for this to scare the fish into the nets. The rocks break up the coral reefs, which protect the young fish, and this deprives the smaller fishermen of their catch, which is their only livelihood. It also leads to a reduced harvest of fishing for future fishing, and as the coral reefs that protect the young fish are destroyed. A third example is the large-scale mining by foreign multinational mining companies. This kind of mining leaves toxic residues that affect the groundwater, the agriculture, fishing, and the local communities who live in the area. While these environmental problems that I mention are specific to the Philippines, similar destruction is also experienced in other countries in the world. And I'm sure there are many stories of similar incidents right here in Southern California. In order to meet the challenge posed by this environmental destruction and to do what we could in our own small way, the Maryknoll Sisters in the Philippines, after the earthquake, decided to use our small elementary school for an alternative education project. Our focus is to educate Filipino students from all levels, their teachers, religious, seminarians, families, and even tourists, about the environmental and ecological problems facing the Philippines, and what each of us can do in our own way to take care of our home, planet Earth. On our grounds, we have built an outdoor exhibit which tells the story of God's creation, from the beginning of the universe and the emergence of our home, planet Earth, right up to the present period, in which we show how we can live in harmony with the Earth today. Local schools in Baguio, as well as those in other provinces and from Manila, are benefiting from this new focus on the awareness of God's creation and what we as human beings are responsible for and can do. Each of us as believers are called to be witnesses to Jesus Christ, that is, to be missioners. Besides witnessing to the love of God in your own community, you can help those of us who go out to the global community. I invite you to help support the work of the Maryknoll Sisters. We work in countries in Asia, Central and South America, Africa, and right here in the United States. Our sisters are involved in many different kinds of work, like pastoral and catechetical work, education, medical and health ministry, justice, peace, and ecology, as well as working with people with HIV/AIDS, with refugees, migrants, and trafficked women, and especially with women and children in many parts of the world. You can support our mission work through your prayers for us and the people we help, and through your donations. And for this purpose, we have the mission envelope from the diocese, from the mission office. Please help us by putting whatever you can afford to give the Maryknoll Sisters in the envelope and putting it in the second collection. If you did not come prepared today, you can also mail the envelope to the mission office. I also invite the young people of the parish to check out our website, themaryknollsisters.org. Being a missioner is a wonderful, exciting, and fulfilling vocation. We make God's love visible by serving the people in many countries. Besides the Maryknoll Sisters, there's also the Maryknoll Society of Priests and Brothers and the Maryknoll Lay Missioners. All of us make up the Maryknoll family. However, each group is separate and raises its own funds for support. In closing, I thank you for your generosity and your prayerful support of the Maryknoll Sisters. Because of your help, we are able to go out in mission to the furthest ends of the earth. After Mass, Sister Arlene and I will be at the doors of the church and we'll be happy to meet you. In Filipino, maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Thank you and God bless you.